I'm standing here in my kitchen, watching the steam curl up from my coffee mug in those delicate spirals that seem to dance in the morning light. And you know what? Monday feels completely different from yesterday's leisurely Sunday ramble. There's this productive energy in the air, the kind that makes you want to tackle everything on your list while still savoring these quiet morning moments. The coffee maker finished its work a few minutes ago with that satisfied little sigh it makes when everything's gone exactly right. I love that sound, especially on Monday mornings when I can still feel the weekend's contentment lingering while the week's possibilities stretch out ahead. The same gentle breeze that made yesterday so perfect is still flowing through my kitchen window, and I swear it carries just a hint of summer's warmth mixed with that fresh coolness that reminds you anything could happen. Benny's already completed his morning security patrol, and I have to say, his approach on weekday mornings is noticeably more purposeful than his leisurely weekend rounds. This dog takes his responsibilities seriously. You know, he's done his systematic inspection of the fence perimeter, checked that concerning corner where squirrels like to congregate, and given the herb garden his professional assessment. Now he's positioned himself strategically near the kitchen counter, wearing that earnest expression that clearly communicates his availability should any breakfast preparation accidents occur. Muffin, of course, has claimed her supervisory position on the counter with that magical teleportation cats have perfected. One moment, I'm alone with my coffee, and the next, she's sitting there with perfect poise, pretending she wasn't at all interested in whatever I might be doing, but obviously prepared to provide quality control services if needed. Speaking of getting organized for the week ahead, I keep thinking about Janet's situation and how quickly things have been developing for her. You know how sometimes life just accelerates in ways you don't quite expect? Well, that's exactly what's happening with her home organization business. And honestly, I'm both excited for her and a little worried about how she's managing it all. When I talked to her last week, Janet mentioned that the referrals are coming in faster than she can handle them while still working her full-time position at the office. Remember, I told you about the Henderson family and how she completely transformed their home office situation. Well, that success story has apparently created this ripple effect through their neighborhood and social circles. People are literally calling her asking if she can help them organize their lives. And Janet being Janet, she wants to help everyone. The thing is, she's reached this critical crossroads that I think many people face when their passion project starts demanding more time and energy than their day job allows. Janet's been doing these organizational consultations on evenings and weekends, but the demand has grown to the point where she's turning down potential clients, simply because there aren't enough hours in the week. What really struck me when we talked was how thoughtfully she's approaching this whole situation. You know how Janet applies that military logistics background to everything? Well, she's been creating these detailed financial projections, analyzing the sustainability of a full-time organizing business versus the security of her corporate position. She's even researching business insurance and certification requirements for professional organizers. But here's what makes it particularly complicated. This is all happening during Rachel's senior year of high school, and Janet's been the organizational backbone of their college application process. She's created this incredible color-coded timeline system that tracks application deadlines, scholarship requirements, and all those moving pieces that make senior year so overwhelming for families. The irony is that her organizational skills are exactly what's making her business successful. But they're also what's keeping her family running smoothly during this critical time. Tom, bless his heart, has become completely converted to Janet's meal planning system in the most enthusiastic way possible. Janet told me that he's gone from being skeptical about spreadsheets for dinner to timing cooking processes with what she calls military precision. He's apparently become evangelical about the system, sharing it with his bowling league friends and coworkers, which just adds to the evidence that Janet really has something special to offer people. And then there's the whole digital detox vacation they're planning as a family stress relief strategy. Janet's found this cabin rental that has no cell phone service or internet access, and she's planning what she calls analog entertainment activities, board games, hiking guides, stargazing materials, the works. She's even coordinated with the cabin owner about activities and local knowledge. The woman thinks of everything, I swear, but you can imagine the complexity of trying to decide whether to leave a stable corporate job, to pursue something entrepreneurial, when you have a daughter heading to college and a family, depending on your income and benefits. Janet mentioned that she and Tom have been having these long conversations after the kids go to bed, weighing the financial risks against the potential for building something that could provide more flexibility and fulfillment. What I find most interesting is how her military background is informing this decision. Janet approaches major life transitions the same way she probably approached strategic planning in the Army. She's considering multiple scenarios, backup plans, and risk mitigation strategies. She's not just dreaming about being her own boss. She's creating comprehensive business plans and market analysis. The Martinez family, her second major client, has been another incredible success story. Remember, they were dealing with their teenage son's ADHD, and the parents were struggling with organization systems that worked for their family's specific needs. Janet designed these visual organization systems and simplified routines that take into account different learning styles and attention patterns. The family stress reduction has been so significant that they've referred 3 more families to Janet. Mike, their 14-year-old son, has been watching his mother's entrepreneurial courage with what Janet describes as fascination. She's been teaching him about business planning and decision-making as part of his real-world education. And he's apparently been asking thoughtful questions about risk-taking and following your passions. It's one of those situations where the parent becomes the example of the kind of courage she's trying to teach her children. You know, speaking of major life decisions and timing, I can't stop thinking about Sarah's situation with Duchess, and how this week is apparently when everything gets decided. Sarah texted me yesterday evening, and I could hear the anxiety in her voice message, even though she was trying to keep things light. The thing is, Mrs. Patterson's family is having their meeting this week about permanent care arrangements, and Sarah is caught between her deep attachment to Duchess and this guilt she feels about what she calls taking someone's pet. But you know what I told her? Sometimes life puts us exactly where we need to be, even when the circumstances aren't what we would have chosen. Duchess has been living with Sarah for 4 months now, and according to Sarah's daily photo updates, that cat has never looked happier or healthier. She's gained weight, her coat is glossy, and she's clearly thriving in Sarah's converted warehouse apartment. Sarah created these beautiful ceramic food and water bowls specifically for Duchess during her pottery classes, and she jokes that Duchess has appointed herself as quality control manager for all ceramic projects. The pottery connection is really sweet, actually. Sarah says Duchess has this uncanny ability to knock over pottery pieces that aren't quite right, like she's providing artistic criticism along with companionship. Sarah's been documenting this on social media, and her pottery classmates are completely invested in what they're calling the cat drama. What's particularly interesting is how this whole situation has coincided with Sarah's relationship development with Kevin. Having Duchess has given Sarah this sense of responsibility and home building that she's never really experienced before. Kevin has been incredibly supportive throughout the whole adoption crisis, and Sarah says his practical farming wisdom has helped her think through the emotional complexity of the situation. You know how Sarah always approaches challenges sideways instead of head-on? Well, she's been researching pet adoption laws and talking to other people who have been in similar situations. She discovered that these kinds of transitions happen more often than you'd think, and that the most important consideration really should be the animal's well-being and happiness. The Saturday farmer's market routine with Kevin has become this anchor point in Sarah's week. And she says having Duchess to come home to has made her apartment feel like a real home for the first time since she moved to Portland. She's even started calling it our apartment when she talks about her and Duchess, which tells you everything you need to know about how attached she's become. But the guilt is real, and I understand it completely. Mrs. Patterson is 82 years old. She loved that cat for 12 years, and the accident that led to her needing assisted living care wasn't anyone's fault. Sarah feels like she's somehow taking advantage of an elderly person's misfortune, even though logically she knows she's providing excellent care for a senior cat who might not thrive in a care facility environment. Kevin's been helping her work through the emotional side of things, and Sarah says his perspective on animal care from farming has been really grounding. He's pointed out that the best homes for animals are the ones where they're loved, properly cared for, and where they clearly want to be. Duchess has made her preferences pretty clear by settling into Sarah's routine so completely. The decision deadline is this coming Saturday, and Sarah's planning to attend the family meeting to offer her perspective on Duchess's well-being, and to make sure Mrs. Patterson knows how much the cat is loved. Whatever gets decided, at least everyone involved will know that Duchess has been cherished and well cared for during this transition period. Speaking of responsibilities and family expectations, Elena's wedding cake pressure is really mounting now that July 15th feels much closer after these first few days of June. Sister Maria called her yesterday with what Elena described as small changes to the design, which in bride language usually means completely different vision that we're calling small changes to avoid panic. Elena was telling me just last week, and I could hear the worry creeping into her voice, that she sometimes wonders if she took on more than she can reasonably handle. Creating a 3-tier lavender honey cake for 75 guests is ambitious under any circumstances. But doing it for your sister's outdoor garden wedding, when you've never made a wedding cake before, that takes courage bordering on insanity, though I'd never tell Elena that. The thing is, her practice sessions in the garage kitchen have been surprisingly effective. Elena discovered that working with simplified equipment and limited space has actually forced her to be more precise and creative with her techniques. She's been documenting the process with photos and notes, and honestly, the progression has been remarkable to watch. Gerald, her sourdough starter, has been providing some interesting stress relief during these intense cake preparation periods. Elena swears that Gerald's moods reflect her stress levels, and she's been using their daily feeding conversations as a kind of meditation practice. She talks to that starter like he's a beloved family member who just happens to live in a jar, and I think it helps her process the pressure she's feeling. Marco and Sophia have been her diplomatic taste-testing team, and Elena says their feedback has been incredibly helpful even when it's not exactly what she wants to hear. Marco has this gentle way of suggesting improvements, like, "Mom, maybe the lavender could be a touch more subtle." While Sophia is enthusiastically supportive of everything. Sophia keeps telling everyone at school that her mom is making a fairy tale wedding cake, which just adds to the performance pressure Elena's feeling. The family dynamics around this whole project are fascinating. Elena's brother Tony remains skeptical about the whole lavender concept, asking why they can't just do chocolate like normal people. But Elena's parents have been incredibly supportive, offering to help with setup and transportation, and sharing stories about the elaborate cakes Elena's grandmother used to make for special occasions. The community center students have been following the wedding cake progress with invested interest, and Elena's been using their curiosity as teaching opportunities. She's demonstrated some of the techniques she's learning, and several students have requested advanced cake decorating classes. Elena's considering offering special occasion baking classes once she gets through this project, which could be a natural expansion of her teaching work. Gerald's bread distribution has continued throughout all this wedding cake stress, and Elena says the community support network has been invaluable. Neighbors have been stopping by with encouragement and offers to help, and Elena's been trading bread for favors like childcare and transportation assistance. You know, speaking of building community through food, Robert's coffee enthusiasm has been creating this wonderful ripple effect at our office that I don't think he even fully realizes. Bean, his office coffee plant, has achieved what I can only describe as celebrity status among our colleagues. Every morning, when Robert checks on Bean's latest growth developments, a small crowd of coworkers gathers to hear the daily plant update. Last week, Bean sprouted a new leaf, and I swear the level of excitement around that office was completely disproportionate to the actual event. People have been bringing plant-related gifts, asking about care requirements, and treating Bean like a team member with personality and preferences. Michelle has been documenting Bean's growth with her photography skills, and she's using the transformation as part of her workplace environment research. Robert's latte art progression has been equally entertaining to follow. Amy's anniversary gift of the high-end espresso machine has led to what Robert calls weekend practice sessions that are visible through their kitchen window. He's moved from what he described as unidentifiable blobs to recognizable heart shapes, and now he's working on leaf patterns with the kind of systematic dedication he applies to everything. Amy's patience throughout this whole learning process has been remarkable. Robert told me she's been tolerating endless coffee consumption and morning practice sessions with what he calls saint-like understanding. Though he did mention that she started requesting specific patterns for special occasions, which suggests she's more invested in his progress than she lets on. The monthly office coffee tasting that Robert organizes has grown from an informal gathering to an officially recognized workplace event with budget allocation and scheduled time. Last month, we had representatives from 3 departments, and Robert's systematic approach to coffee education has been genuinely enlightening. He brings different beans from various regions, explains processing methods, and teaches us about flavor profiles in ways that make the differences actually noticeable. Apex Coffee, that roaster Robert discovered with the 72-hour cold extraction process, has become his latest evangelism project. He's been bringing samples to the office, and I have to admit, the difference in flavor profile is remarkable compared to traditional cold brew methods. Robert's been working on the corporate account negotiation with management, presenting research about employee satisfaction and productivity benefits of quality coffee. The community workshop program at the auto repair shop has been generating a waiting list, which tells you something about how much people appreciate Marcus's patient teaching approach and practical knowledge. Last month's session on seasonal car preparation had 23 attendees, and Marcus ended up scheduling an additional workshop to accommodate everyone who wanted to learn. Angela's growing appreciation for the restoration process has been really sweet to observe. Marcus told me that she started referring to his weekend project work as we instead of he. And she's been learning basic automotive maintenance alongside the community workshop participants. She's even started contributing photography documentation of the restoration progress, combining her interests with his. Speaking of workplace transformation and official approval, Michelle's office mural project has moved from proposal stage to actual implementation. And I have to say, the energy around that announcement has been remarkable. Management's approval came with budget allocation and official recognition of the project as a workplace wellness initiative, which validates everything Michelle has been researching about visual environment impact on productivity and morale. The employee design workshops are scheduled to begin this week, and Michelle's been preparing these collaborative sessions where different departments contribute ideas and personal touches to the overall design. She's created this process that combines color psychology research with individual creativity, which means everyone gets to participate without needing previous artistic experience. David from accounting, who started participating in Michelle's photography wellness program, has apparently been transformed by the experience. Michelle says his stress levels have noticeably decreased, and he's now leading lunch hour photography walks for other interested colleagues. It's one of those wonderful examples of how creative expression can ripple outward to benefit entire communities. Michelle's research documentation has been impressive, and she's been invited to present her findings at a workplace wellness conference later this summer. The combination of photography therapy, color psychology, and creative problem-solving workshops has created this comprehensive approach to employee satisfaction that other organizations are interested in replicating. All this talk about detailed work and craftsmanship reminds me of Marcus's latest update on his Toyota restoration project. He's moved from the mechanical work into the paint preparation phase, which means he's learning completely new skills through YouTube tutorials and mentorship from a local body shop owner. Marcus being Marcus, he's approaching paint work with the same systematic methodology he uses for everything else. The community interest in practical automotive skills has been growing steadily. And Marcus mentioned that his weekend restoration work has become this informal neighborhood gathering where people stop by to observe, learn, and share their own project experiences. Angela's been documenting the process with photography, and they're considering creating a blog or social media series about the restoration journey. Speaking of summer schedules and creative momentum, David's early morning writing sessions have been producing what he describes as his best work yet. Emma's support has been crucial in creating space for focused creative time. And David says their relationship discussions about engagement timing have been happening naturally alongside his progress on the novel. The book club community has been growing in ways that I don't think David initially expected. And his leadership role has evolved to include organizing literary events and coordinating with local bookstores for author readings. Maya, his roommate, has been contributing graphic design expertise to the book club materials, which has enhanced the whole community experience. I'm sitting here sipping my coffee and watching Muffin conduct her Monday morning counter inspection. And you know what strikes me about all these friends and their various projects and decisions? They're all facing changes that require courage in different ways. Janet potentially leaving the security of corporate employment, Sarah making a major commitment to pet ownership, Elena taking on a project that pushes her skills to their limit, and everyone else pursuing growth in their own particular directions. There's something about early summer that seems to support these kinds of big life changes, don't you think? Maybe it's the lengthening daylight that gives us more energy for ambitious projects, or the seasonal reminder that growth and transformation are natural parts of life. Mrs. Chen's roses are moving into their second bloom phase, which seems like the perfect metaphor for everyone's developing situations. Benny has returned from what I suspect was a secondary security check of the perimeter, and he's positioning himself for optimal supervision of any mid-morning snack preparation. This dog's timing is impeccable, and his dedication to household food safety is unwavering. Muffin has relocated to the sunny spot by the window, where she can maintain surveillance of both indoor and outdoor activities while appearing completely relaxed and uninterested. The Monday energy feels different from yesterday's leisurely contemplation, but it's equally satisfying in its own way. There's something energizing about knowing that Janet and Michelle are creating positive changes in their workplace environments, that Sarah's making important life decisions with courage and thoughtfulness, and that Elena's pushing her creative boundaries in service of family celebration. Working with Janet and Michelle has given me this wonderful appreciation for how much thought and care goes into creating environments where people can thrive. Janet's organizational systems and Michelle's visual wellness initiatives both come from the same fundamental belief that our surroundings and daily routines profoundly impact our ability to be happy and productive. The week ahead feels full of possibility, and I'm grateful to be witness to all these stories of growth and transformation happening in the lives of people I care about. There's something deeply satisfying about watching friends pursue their passions with dedication and courage, even when the outcomes are uncertain. The morning light has shifted while I've been sitting here, and the coffee in my mug has cooled to that perfect drinking temperature that makes every sip feel exactly right. Seasonal awareness reminds me that June is progressing quickly, bringing us closer to all those decision points and deadlines that are shaping everyone's summer plans. This Monday morning has reminded me why I treasure these quiet moments of reflection before the world fully awakens. The pets have settled into their supervisory positions. Mrs. Chen's garden provides its subtle background fragrance, and the gentle breeze continues to carry that perfect balance of warmth and freshness that makes early summer so wonderful. Actually, you know what? I was just thinking about how these individual stories are all connected in ways that might not be immediately obvious. Janet's organizational expertise could probably help Elena manage the stress of her wedding cake timeline, and Michelle's photography skills have been documenting Robert's coffee plant progress in ways that enhance both of their projects. Marcus's systematic approach to restoration work reminds me of Robert's methodical coffee education, and Sarah's creative problem-solving perspective could probably offer insights to David's writing process. There's this beautiful interdependence in friendship where everyone's skills and experiences contribute to the overall community strength. Janet's military logistics background provides practical wisdom that benefits everyone who knows her, while Elena's generous spirit creates this network of support through bread sharing and teaching that extends far beyond her immediate family. Sarah's artistic growth in pottery and Kevin's farming knowledge create this wonderful combination of creativity and practicality that could inspire others. I find myself wondering if Janet will decide to take the entrepreneurial leap, and how that choice will impact her family's dynamics during Rachel's senior year. The timing is complicated, but Janet's systematic approach to decision-making suggests she'll find a way to balance risk with responsibility. Tom's enthusiastic conversion to the meal planning system demonstrates how much Janet's organizational gifts contribute to their family's well-being. And that success story could be multiplied if she decides to serve more families full-time. The college application timeline system that Janet created for Rachel represents exactly the kind of practical magic that overwhelmed families desperately need. Rachel's learning organizational skills that will serve her throughout college and beyond, while Mike is watching his mother model entrepreneurial courage in real time. Those are the kinds of life lessons that can't be taught in classrooms, but are invaluable for character development. Sarah's Duchess situation really represents one of those life moments where the right choice isn't necessarily the easiest choice. Mrs. Patterson's family meeting this week will determine not just Duchess's future living situation, but also Sarah's next phase of personal growth and responsibility. Kevin's support throughout this decision process suggests that their relationship has real depth and staying power, which could influence Sarah's long-term plans in Portland. The pottery classes have given Sarah this creative outlet that connects to practical applications through Duchess's food and water bowls. And her balcony garden success has provided fresh herbs for cooking experiments with Kevin. These skill developments are building Sarah's confidence in ways that extend far beyond the specific activities themselves. Elena's wedding cake project is really about much more than baking technique, isn't it? She's proving to herself and her family that she can handle significant creative challenges. She's building her reputation in the community as a skilled baker and teacher. And she's demonstrating the resilience that carried her through divorce and single parenthood. Gerald the sourdough starter represents continuity and daily nurturing that parallels Elena's approach to relationships and personal growth. The garage kitchen setup that Elena's been using during the renovation has taught her that creativity thrives within constraints, which is probably a life lesson that applies to much more than baking. Her community center students are learning not just technique, but confidence. And Elena's considering expanding her teaching to include special occasion baking classes that could provide additional income and community connection. Robert's coffee enthusiasm has evolved into genuine community building at our office. And Bean the plant has become this symbol of workplace creativity and shared investment in growth. The monthly coffee tastings are creating cross-departmental relationships that improve collaboration and communication in ways that extend far beyond coffee appreciation. Amy's support of Robert's latte art progression shows the kind of partnership where individual interests are respected and encouraged rather than merely tolerated. Their marriage seems to be strengthened by Robert's passionate pursuits rather than strained by them, which suggests they've found that balance between shared activities and individual growth that makes long-term relationships sustainable. Marcus's automotive community education has created this wonderful model of skill sharing that benefits everyone involved. Angela's growing appreciation for the restoration process represents exactly the kind of relationship development where partners learn to value each other's interests without necessarily sharing them completely. The fact that she's contributing photography documentation shows how couples can support each other's passions while maintaining their own distinct perspectives and contributions. Michelle's workplace transformation initiatives are creating lasting change in office culture and employee satisfaction. And her research documentation could influence workplace wellness practices at other organizations. The photography therapy program has demonstrated how creative expression can reduce stress and build community, which validates Michelle's belief in art's power to improve people's daily experiences. David's writing progress and relationship development with Emma seem to be supporting each other in positive ways. And his book club leadership has created community connections that enrich everyone involved. Maya's graphic design contributions to the book club materials demonstrate how roommate relationships can evolve into creative partnerships that benefit entire communities. I keep coming back to this idea that early summer energy supports growth and transformation in ways that feel natural rather than forced. The longer daylight hours give us more time for ambitious projects. The warmer weather encourages outdoor activities and social connections. And there's something about the season's abundance that makes us more generous with our time and energy. Mrs. Chen's roses are absolutely glorious right now, providing this daily reminder that sustained care and attention create beauty that benefits not just the gardener, but everyone who encounters the results. Her gardening expertise represents the kind of mastery that comes from years of dedicated practice, seasonal awareness, and patient attention to detail. Benny has completed what appears to be his third security assessment of the morning, and I swear this dog's dedication to household safety and food supervision never wavers. His systematic approach to perimeter patrol reminds me of Marcus's restoration methodology and Janet's organizational systems. There's something admirable about consistent, purposeful work toward important goals. Muffin has relocated again, this time to the spot where the morning light hits the counter at exactly the right angle for optimal warmth and supervision. Cats really are masters of positioning themselves for maximum comfort while maintaining complete awareness of their environment. She's providing quality control oversight while appearing completely relaxed and uninvested in human activities. The coffee in my mug has reached that perfect temperature where each sip delivers exactly the right balance of warmth and flavor. And the morning breeze continues to carry hints of Mrs. Chen's roses mixed with the fresh promise of another beautiful June day. These sensory details anchor me in the present moment, while my thoughts wander through all these developing stories and potential outcomes. You know what strikes me most about all these friends and their various challenges and opportunities? They're all approaching change with thoughtfulness and courage rather than fear or hesitation. Janet's methodical decision-making process, Sarah's emotional intelligence about the Duchess situation, Elena's creative problem-solving for the wedding cake, and everyone else's commitment to growth and learning. These are examples of how to navigate life transitions with grace and wisdom. There's something deeply satisfying about witnessing these stories unfold in real time, knowing that each person is making choices that align with their values and long-term well-being, rather than just taking the easiest available options. Change is never simple, and growth often requires stepping outside comfort zones. But watching people you care about embrace challenges with determination and support from their communities is genuinely inspiring. The morning is progressing toward that time when I'll need to shift from contemplation to action. But I'm grateful for these moments of reflection that help me appreciate the richness of everyday life and the remarkable people who share their journeys with such openness and trust. Community really is one of life's greatest gifts. And I feel incredibly fortunate to be connected to people who approach their daily lives with such creativity, dedication, and genuine care for each other's success and happiness. I'm looking forward to this week's developments and discoveries. And I have this wonderful sense that whatever challenges and opportunities arise, they'll be met with the same thoughtfulness and courage that characterizes everyone I've been thinking about this morning. Summer is just beginning, and there's so much potential for growth, connection, and joy in the weeks ahead.